Our next guest started a business when he was 13 years old, a nonprofit when he was 18, wrote a book at 23, produced a documentary a couple of years later, worked with the United Nations. He was in Cairo to experience that revolution. Did I mention he was an internationally ranked tennis player? He loves this country and works to make it even better. He hosts public policy dinners and is growing his new company, Keela, providing digital support to small, innovative nonprofit groups that he sees as critical to our future. Please welcome Nejeed Kassam.
Mr. Sullivan, thank you for that kind and a little bit embarrassing introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, my dearest wife, Aisha, good evening. It is an absolute honor to be speaking with you here today. As Sam mentioned, my name is Nejeed. I'm a proud Vancouverite, a recovering lawyer, and an aspiring changemaker. Tonight, I have the great pleasure of sharing with you my thoughts on what each of us can be doing to make the democratic tenets of this country stronger. But first, I want to share something heartbreakingly personal. On Monday, my Uncle Shamash was taken into palliative care, barely breathing. It seems his short time on this earth is coming to an end. Let me tell you a little bit about Uncle Shamash. Do you have those people in your life who are fundamentally good? The ones who radiate, almost emanate kindness? That is Uncle Shamash. And nothing could be more relevant, or rather more important, to my topic today than sharing a little bit of his story with you. You see, Uncle Shamash and my Auntie Perrine are from Uganda. And like so many Ugandans of South Asian descent, in the early 1970s, they were forced to leave their homes in Kampala. Idi Amin's dictatorship was persecuting people who looked like us. Uncle Shamash and Auntie Perrine left everything and fled for their lives. No money, no businesses, barely any hope. It was Canada that welcomed them, and so many like them, with open arms and, no pun, but really pun, intended, a clean sheet of ice. Canada gave them the precious opportunity to carve their own new story. And in honor of Uncle Shamash and the millions of new arrivals who make Canada their home, who have come to see Canada's values as a beacon of hope, I have a request, or rather a question, of each of you today. Sam said I was allowed to provoke you, right? Are you doing enough to protect and strengthen our democracy? Today, I want to quickly share my thoughts on how I posit you can do this. I wrote this evening's remark with a blue ink pen. I'm a little old school. And despite the loving mockery of my team and my family, I still use a fountain pen every day. Naturally, that means I often come home from work with ink all over my hands. After a particularly ink-riddled day, I was reminded of the photos of women in Afghanistan from 15 or so years ago who proudly showed off their ink-dipped fingers to any and every camera. Proof that they'd cast a vote, almost certainly for the first times in their lives. It got me thinking, why in some countries do people die for the right to vote and cherish with all their hearts the opportunity to cast a ballot? Yet in Canada, participation in and strengthening of our democracy is something we seem to take for granted. In the last municipal election, only a few weeks ago, Vancouver voter turnout was 39%. What can we do to turn this tide? The answer is pretty simple. Show up. Encourage your friends, your family, your coworkers to go out to the polls. Especially at a time when once unquestionably liberal democracies are being threatened by the dangerous tides of nationalism, I urge every one of you, whenever and wherever possible, to exercise, please, the beautiful opportunity and incredible responsibility to vote. Vote to protect the values you hold dearly, or the policies that you want to see enacted. Vote because it's an opportunity to build community in your neighborhoods. If nothing else, vote because you can. But voting isn't enough to protect democracy on its own. It's almost a result of democracy. For each of us to partake in protecting and strengthening our democracy, I strongly believe that we must all take an active role in civil society. Remember, when it came time for those Afghan women to vote again in 2014, their right to vote wasn't enough. They were under threat, and it was civil society groups who encouraged them and protected them at the polls. So what exactly is civil society? It is the institutions, the organizations, and communities that exist in our society, outside of government and outside of business. Civil society includes nonprofits and charities, soccer teams and social clubs, mosques and churches and synagogues. Civil society is meetups and improv groups, and definitely bowling leagues. And while governments often speak with one voice, civil society can speak with many, bringing vibrancy, agility, and diversity to our national discourse. Now, while this may sound all well and good, some of us must be thinking, what exactly does this have to do with me? The answer is everything. Why? Because for it to be truly representative, each of us must be a part of Canada's civil society. We don't need degrees or qualifications or experience to do this. We merely need a will to participate and to get engaged. The obvious question then is how? To me, one accessible entry point is the nonprofit sector. At Keela, the company where I work, we spend our lives building software for nonprofits. In fact, the word Keela means everyone in Swahili and is reflective of our thesis. Since every nonprofit is strengthening our civil society, every nonprofit deserves powerful and transformative technology. Today, I challenge each of you to be more involved, to do more, to be more engaged. Whether it's through donations or volunteering, advocacy or sitting on a board, we as Canadians must take action to make our nonprofits stronger and better. Building our country's democracy can't happen in these 7 minutes. It doesn't happen by listening to speeches or even giving them. It's a lifelong process of active participation. Hopefully, our conversation tonight has sparked enthusiasm for how you can participate, but it's up to you to go out and actually do it. When my uncle Shamash and Auntie Perrine came to Canada, in spite of all they had suffered, they found peace, they found opportunity, they found home. And Uncle Shamash, wherever you are, between this world and the next, I hope you are smiling, because everyone in this room has the ability, the opportunity, and the ingenuity to actively build your Canada's civil society, and in this way, fortify our democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. Good night.